Hey guys, what's going on? My name is Nick, and today in this video I want to talk to you about my top 10 movies that I watched growing up. These are just a special 10 to me. I know a lot of people are going to have their own special list of movies they watched growing up. Hopefully some of these resonate with you. You've probably at least seen half of them. These are just top 10 out of all the kids' movies I watched, at least that I could remember when I was making this list, that really just had a special place to me. So hope you stick along, like the video. Let's get into it. So number 10 is Casper, Friendly Ghost. Mid-90s, late 90s movie with Hilary Duff playing the lead female, and then the ghost Casper, obviously. For a live-action movie in the late 90s, like, this is surprisingly holds up for the most part. I mean, I really liked how their relationship forms. Obviously, you think he's a ghost. Scary. No, ghost. Can be friendly. That's the whole premise. That's why it's so different, is because he's a different ghost. And so you see their relationship build and form until they're friends. And then Bill Pullman's in there. Thoroughly enjoy that guy. He's in a lot of great stuff. I just, you know, he's good in the movie. But when his realization comes of just what's going on with his daughter and this ghost, that's probably one of my favorite parts about the movie, just because of how the entire movie builds up their friendship and then just shows the viewpoint of this father. But then you can actually see his realization that he's changed his mind, because it's not, you know, Casper's not a bad ghost. So I love movies that do that, where you can like have one character think a certain way and then totally just flip by the end of the movie. It's thoroughly enjoyable. Good little kids movie. Definitely check it out if you haven't. Number 9 is Bridge to Terabithia. Has Anna Sophie Robb and Josh Hutcherson as the main leads. Zooey Deschanel's in there as a teacher. This one is a very special place to me as well, because I remember watching it as a young kid, and I always thought the imagination of them just building these grand places in their mind, but it also felt so magical. It just felt like a different Disney movie that has never been made before. And I think they really sell the characters, especially when they're in the school. It has this like really magical, real vibe to it. Like, it doesn't feel too over the top. It doesn't feel like they're trying to overproduce the movie. Like, they're trying to tell that specific story. And you got Josh Hutcherson, and his dad is kind of a mean guy. But and his daughter, actually, they have a lot of kids. They got a lot of kids in the house. But regardless, they have that friendship for him. And then when you find out she's dead, I mean, this is a PG movie. You can have people die. But most of the time, they don't do that. And in this way, they don't show the death. They just show where it happened and how it could have happened. And it's super tragic, because it just, like, you're so invested in their friendship and how, like, they're bringing the best out of each other. And then she's gone, and then so it's like Josh Hutcherson has to find a way to cope with that. Who can he go to? Ends up finding that relationship with his sister that was rocky and making that better, and then they get to build the world that him and Anna Sophie Robb built together. So, I mean, that one could tug at your heartstrings for sure. But anyway, that's my number 9. Thoroughly good Disney movie. Definitely check it out. Number 8 is Chronicles of Narnia, Lion, the Witch, and Wardrobe. This movie, see, I had a Christian upbringing. I went to Christian school. This movie, I'm not sure if I saw it in the theater, but I know my school was talking about it a lot. Very private Christian school. They always, you know, talked about God and Jesus and all these things. So when this movie came out, you know, I had some Christian songs by Christian artists in there, and at the time I didn't know a lot. And this movie was highly profitable. I mean, it had 2 sequels, but this first one I always felt special to me, because of just what I was actually able to watch as a kid. I didn't get to watch that much that I wanted to, but that movie, Chronicles of Narnia, I got to watch. And, you know, I really like that premise, the 3 kids being able to go, or 4 kids, 4 kids being able to go stay at, you know, man, the whole just the whole train scene when they have to leave. Oh my god, it's bringing back memories. Anyway, train scene is really heartfelt straight away, and then they have to go move into the place with the family member, and then they end up going to the closet, which goes to this magical land. And this one has a way more magical feel than Bridge to Terabithia, but this one, it's selling you on that point. I mean, they're made from books. Not sure what Bridge to Terabithia is, but I know that C.S. Lewis made Chronicles of Narnia, so based off of that. And I think they really do a thoroughly good job on telling the story straight to the point. I haven't read the book, so I don't know how far in detail they go in the movie, but I think for the most part everyone's been pretty positive on it. The sequels, enjoyable. Second one is not as good, but still really enjoyable. Third one, not as good as the second one, but still enjoyable. They kind of just slowly degraded themselves, but not by too much. I really was hoping for a fourth one, just because I remember them saying they were gonna make one, like a prequel about one of the characters from the third one. I was gonna be based off of. Can't remember. It was like Estes, whoever that dick kid was in the third movie. What a dick. But he's a good actor. Will Powder. They were going to make a movie based off his character, I think, because that's what the story involved. Can't remember. But I like Will Powder, so I would watch that movie. But anyway, coming at number 7 is Matilda, Danny DeVito's movie. What a legend. Frank Reynolds. Love that man. He directed this movie, which I did not know for the longest time that he directed this movie. I was like, Danny DeVito directed Matilda? And you have that performance from the girl from Thomas the Train. I suck at names. You know what? I'm going to start writing these down and be professional about it, because I thought I could remember these names, but clearly I'm better at faces. So, regardless, Danny DeVito directed Matilda. You got main chick from Thomas and the Magic Railroad. How professional. And so she does a great job. And you got a bunch of these wacky characters. And this is on my list. It's number 7. It's not too high. It's not too low. It's in that middle because I watched this a tons of time as a kid. VHS. One of the VHS movies I watched a lot. I just always thought it was cool when she got her powers. Just all the like stuff she could do and just how she gets revenge on everybody. It just, for like a kid's movie, it's so pleasing to watch like younger kids who would just need to show the adults what they're made of. It's just one of those really great feel-good movies. And at the end, when she finally gets to live with somebody that's worth being with, and it's a nice person, just feels so good, man. I love good, heartfelt movies. Hollywood, make more. Stop making these CGI fests. I still like the CGI fests, but just make a little bit more. Number 6, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Now, this movie, oh man, Johnny Depp, what a man. Puts himself in all that makeup and that really weird voice to have a pretty good performance. And, Freddie Highmore has always been one of those actors I really enjoyed. It's a really weird movie because, it's Tim Burton and Johnny Depp. And they've worked together before, obviously. Edward Scissorhands and, my mind went blank, but they worked together before. And I really like Tim Burton. Past decade, probably not. I think the early 2000s is when he started to lose his steam. I mean, Big Fish is probably the last movie I would say is one of his masterpieces. I mean, so Charlie and the Chocolate Factory is still a good movie, but I wouldn't say it's a masterpiece. But as a kid, you're watching this grand movie, and it's a remake, obviously, from the original one, which I like that one. That one I should rewatch because I always remembered liking Tim Burton's one more. Maybe that was just because of how more modern, aesthetic-wise, it was made, and not in the 70s when it was 70s era of living life. So I can't exactly relate to that time period. But when it comes to this remake, you got Johnny Depp, all this candy. I don't know. I always had a special place in my heart for this movie. I always thought it was weird. But obviously you're remaking it. You're trying to make it a little bit more weird, trying to make it stand out on its own. And the world building in this movie, I really like the way the world is set up. It's different, it's unique, it's special. It feels like a Tim Burton movie. Like Dumbo and some of these other movies Tim Burton's been making, just they don't feel like Tim Burton as much. Like The only thing, the style feels like Tim Burton, but the storylines don't feel as Tim Burton-esque anymore. Like, he's just trying to, like, outdo himself, but he's not actually trying to make an actual cohesive film. Like, even in that one movie Tim Burton directed, Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. That's why it was taking me a while to think of that name. That movie I had some high hopes for because I really enjoyed that book, and I really like the actors in that movie. And for the most part, it's enjoyable. I think the third act kind of misses it, but they just don't feel as Tim Burton-y as they should. Like, Tim Burton should be having his full vision, but they're not ever really going for that route anymore. So I don't know. Hollywood needs to let Tim Burton just actually make something that's his own and not try and make this huge gigantic thing and try so hard. I think that's their biggest problem, but what can you do? Stuart Little comes in at number 5. This one's pretty short and sweet. You got Michael J. Fox playing this character, and I really enjoy him. He's a great actor. I feel so bad for what happened to him because literally he gets this 3-movie success, Back to the Future, starts making some other smaller movies in the 90s, and then all of a sudden he gets diagnosed with this disease, and it's just like, man. And then he only gets the 90s to really do other acting besides Back to the Future. After he finished his show and Back to the Future, he only did some other movies, and then he did that Spin City, I guess, in the early 2000s, late 90s. But like, once Stuart Little came out, he could only do that movie because it was voiceover, and he did the other ones too because you can work around voice, but acting wise you can't. And so luckily you could hear his voice fine. It sounds good. I really like the Stuart Little franchise. Obviously the third one is animated, so not exactly the one I would pick, but the first one's pretty legendary, and I think M. Night Shyamalan was a ghostwriter on it, or he at least has an uncredited writing credit on it, one of those two. But this is just a great kids movie. I mean, just the whole family dynamic with Gina Davis and Hugh Laurie, man, dude, I love House, and it's just so weird seeing him in such like a different type of Americanized movie. It's just different. I like it. And so you get their interactions. I always liked Snowball. He was one of my favorite things, played by Nathan Lane. That guy should be in way more stuff, and he should be so much more highly praised because of just his voice, his acting. I don't know, 21st century, I guess he just hasn't had as much success, but 90s he did a lot. So I mean, I still like Nathan Lane. Bring back Nathan Lane 2020, hashtag it, bring it back. So anyway, Stuart Little, number 5, great family movie. Watched it so many times as a kid. If you haven't seen it, wow, check it out. Number 4 is Spy Kids. Now this movie everyone's got to know because it's highly quotable. Robert Rodriguez, kids movie. This is like, it says Spy Kids, literally made for kids. Almost every kid has watched this movie and the franchise. I mean, the first one is probably the most cohesive story-wise. I think it's the most well written. I do like that second one. The second one is a worthy follow-up. The third one is when you can start kind of saying it gets a little hammy and this video game stuff, but that doesn't detract from the fact that I love that third movie. I love them all. The whole series is good. The first Spy Kids I put on there because it's the first Spy Kids, the first one I ever watched, and as a kid I was like, this movie's like legendary or something. You got George Clooney playing the president. You got like so many quotable lines by the third one. You got, I'm the guy. I'm the real guy. And then he just has like 100 life points. He's just like, cake. And then just, if I could edit electricity right then, I would have, but I can't. So, I don't know. Spy Kids just holds a special place. All the storylines are just so well written. Robert Rodriguez, for much movies he's made that aren't exactly up to par with the Spy Kids movies, he's still a good director. He has his own style as well. I watched Spy Kids so much as a kid. Cannot get enough of it. Number 3, The Pagemaster. Now this one you might not know of. It's a little bit of a smaller movie. I think it was in theaters, but not for long. It has Macaulay Culkin and Christopher Lloyd, and then basically it's this kid who he likes to read. He goes to a library, and one time when he talks to Christopher Lloyd, he wants to find a special book, and then it just becomes this weird trip of a movie where it becomes animated within like 20 minutes of it, and the rest of the movie is an animated movie, but it's not live action. Like you animate Macaulay Culkin's character into animation, so he got to do a little bit of both. But I was just thought the animation and the characters and just the storyline was just so remarkable and unique, like nothing I'd ever seen before. And if you haven't seen The Pagemaster, that's a very cult classic movie, at least to me. I think that holds up. It's just different. It's like no other movie that I've seen for a kids movie. It can be a little dark, not that dark, you know, it's still kid friendly, but by the end of it, he learns how to like help himself and not be as wimpy, and it's all because of these cartoon characters that he meets, and the whole story, it just, I think it flows really well. So if you haven't seen The Pagemaster, that's my top 3. My number 3, go watch it. Number 2, Zathura, A Space Adventure. And I'm sorry I'm always itching. Like, I just have this itchy quality about me. Try not to do it, but man, I get itchy. I'm pretty hairy, so when I itch, I get itchy in places. So, Zathura, A Space Adventure. And so Zathura, it's really hard because I wanted to put Jumanji on here, but I didn't watch Jumanji as much as I watched Zathura. So Zathura, as a kid, I always watched it because he had Josh Hutcherson in there as well. And then Jonah Bobo, I think was his name. 2 little kids, back when they were kids. Kristen Stewart playing the older teenage daughter. Tim Robbins playing the dad. I mean, you just have this simple story, and compared to Jumanji, and even the sequels, it just felt like a completely different type of story. Even though they say it's in the connected universe, I think, I'm not sure. But I just really like how they go to space. It's a little campy, but I just think Kristen Stewart gets to play a character I've never seen her play before. Kind of like just a normal teenager helping out brothers. I don't know. It felt more simple than a lot of her other stuff. Tim Robbins doesn't get that much screen time, but I mean, he's in there. Maybe he was busy doing War of the Worlds. I don't know. But he's in there for a good chunk. You get them watching SpongeBob on the TV. I mean, what more could you ask for? I mean, that's like every early 2000 kids' daily life, so they could relate to that on like every level. And then I just really like the reveal of Josh Hutcherson and Dax Shepard being the same person. Like, you built Dax Shepard's character up enough to actually think that's like possible, and he doesn't look half bad, so like you can get that. You know, it makes sense to me. I don't know. Some people didn't like it that much, but I think Dax Shepard being his older self was pretty cool. And just the whole alien thing, I mean, they make different parts of the house have to like work with what's going on in the story, and you just get this whole house turning upside down into this whole space thing. So I think I like space a lot. As much as I love the first Jumanji and the sequels, I like space adventures, so having it set in space definitely gave it a different vibe, and I just thought it was wholly unique compared to the other 3 movies. But I love the other 3 movies. They're still good movies. Coming at my number 1, what's every kid's favorite kid's movie of the early 2000s? Meet the Robinsons, man. How could you not love this movie? How is it not your number 1? If it's not your number 1, where were you, man? Because do you need a time machine to go back to change the past so you could go to the future, so you could change that past to make your future your present? Because, okay, it's getting too confusing now, but my number 1's Meet the Robinsons. But if it's not yours, I was just kidding. It's obviously not going to be everyone's. Meet the Robinsons, I watched that movie so many times. Me and my friends have talked about it so many times. It's like one of those kids' movies that you can grow up and still appreciate because it has that message. The music by Rob Thomas in that movie is just so good as well. Like, whoever wrote that movie, I remember watching that commercial on my TV before it came out back in like 05. Oh, it was 07, huh? I was still like 8 when I saw those commercials, so like that's not early 2000s, so I was still in that age range where I can actually remember it coming out. And I think I still have the movie stuff think I still have the movie stub, and that means a lot to me because I think that might be the first movie stub I at least still have. Not that I got, but I still have in my possession. If I could show it now, I would, but maybe some other time. But Meet the Robinsons, just fully good-hearted story, time travel. Kid who's super genius, has to grow up in a foster's home because his mom left him there, and makes friends with the people in that home in present day. And then he meets his future son in the future and sees his whole family, and then you realize that it's actually his son and it's his family, and then he actually gets to talk with his future self. And then just that whole montage at the end when everything comes together. That's like, the first 2 acts are good, but you could really lose it in that 3rd act if it doesn't hold up, because the entire world becomes dark. The villain and just the top hat guy, oh my god, it doesn't get any more ridiculous than that, but it's amazing. That's how good it is. And so when he fixes the world and makes Goob a better person, just the whole Goob is that top hat guy. It's just Goob, man. Everyone relates to Goob. Mr. Steak is my only friend. And he's like, and then his older self talks to him. He's like, no, you can't let them get to you because they will always let you down, or just whatever line he says. I just remember that movie resonating so much with me, and just the payoff at that 3rd act of how he actually gets his family. And then that little girl that was playing with the frogs is his future wife. Like, dude, that's so cute, man. That movie is just so cute. I think it's really well written, and the fact that it didn't get enough money from the release in theaters is pretty sad, because I think that's one of Disney's, like, not Pixar, not the newly remade Disney brand. Back in 2007, they were trying to find their niche with, like, Chicken Little, Meet the Robinsons, and, like, Treasure Planet, those types of movies. This was, like, one of those last of the era before they did, like, Princess and the Frog, where they're trying to find that special, just Disney flavor that wasn't Pixar. I think Meet the Robinsons hits the mark out of all those movies. It's my favorite childhood movie. It's great. I want to rewatch it right now, actually. Maybe I will, maybe I won't, but regardless, that's my top 10 of 10 movies I watched growing up. If you like this video, if you resonated with you, please subscribe, please stay. I have a ton of other ideas coming up that I made that will be coming out soon. I gotta learn to talk to the camera more because I'm just not that good at it, but you know, we all gotta learn how to find our voice. I'm trying to find mine. But if you stay, thank you. If you enjoy this video, please like it. Comment down your top 10 movies. I would like to hear it because I want to talk to anybody about movies. I'm the biggest movie nerd in the world. Like everybody else says, there's tons of YouTubers who say that, but I just love movies to death. It's the one thing I feel like I'm actually passionate about. That's why I'm pursuing it in real life, and that's why I'm doing this channel. So bear with me. You know, nothing's ever going to be perfect. I'm just trying to find my audience, my niche. So if you want to stay, go ahead. If not, totally up to you guys. But thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you all in my next video. Peace.